Hello, everyone. Welcome to our discussion on the tech trends from Brilio. So, is AI disrupting BFSI? So, what we are really going to do today is to take a look at the real world innovations and impact, where we dive into the transformative power of AI in banking, financial services, and insurance sector. AI is no longer just a buzzword, right? I mean, we all know that. A couple of years back it was, but today it isn't. So it's revolutionizing everything from client onboarding to fraud detection to intelligent document processing to risk mitigation or anything you can think of within the BFSI space. So, but with all these innovations come challenges, right? These challenges could be ethical concerns, regulatory hurdles, as well as the complexities of the technology itself, right? So today, we're going to break it all down with two AI thought leaders we have from Brilio. So Gary Gaskin, he is a strategic leader in lending operations, risk management, and digital transformation at Brilio. And we also have Ashraf Souleiman. Ashraf is our CTO of BFSI division, and he's an expert in AI adoption for financial automation and information. So they'll be sharing some real-world use cases, challenges, as well as what's the future of AI in BFSI. So welcome, gentlemen. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's just dive right in, right? I mean, so I'm going to jump in with some questions, and maybe first question is for you, Ash. So what I really like to hear is that I'm sure a lot of our audience would also like to hear this is like, how is AI-driven personalization enhancing client onboarding experiences in commercial banking, right? We're getting very specific to that commercial banking sector.
Yes. Ajay, I think this is a good question as well, and I think AI plays a very good role there. Just to give you an example, when we're talking about digital banking for commercial onboarding, right, that requires a lot of submission of a lot of documents, right, and information need to be validated. In average, any commercial business to be onboarded for bank to have an account, it takes between 5 to 7 days, and some banks are more. The reason behind that, there's a lot of information need to be validated. AIN number, how you are registered with the taxes, how you register with the federal, how you register with the state. Are you submitting the right documents? Do you have the right management structure? Is it an S Corp? Is it an LLC? All of that left for human right now at the bank to review all of this. So it goes into a queue. And when the human gets into that, they start reviewing, they start calling different systems, they start reviewing all of the systems. So think of with agentic AI right now, we can have an agent for validating each piece of information. So I can have a validation, an agent to be able to go to the federal government and then validate if the EIN number matches the name of the company that is in the form, right? Or also another agent to look at all the document and say, if I am asking to, let's say, upload let's say the EIN number document, right, from the federal government, you already uploaded the document, you did not upload a picture or something else, right? So all of that can be right now done by an AI agent, which can reduce the time from 5 to 7 days now for onboarding a commercial customer to the bank to maybe a day or two, even less than this. So there is a huge opportunity for agentic AI to speed up the onboarding for the commercial client to a banking. And think about it, right? The customer experience will change day and night. If instead of like, if I'm an SME, for example, waiting for the bank to get opened and I start transaction, instead of waiting for 5 to 7 days, I have my bank account open, let's say in a day or less than a day, or maybe a 2 days max. That will help me to do business immediately.
Well, that's fascinating, right? I mean, so Gary, switching onto you as more of a follow-up question here, right? Because there is this balance one always has to hit between your customer experience and the regulatory requirements, right? I mean, so how do you actually see that, within the space?
I think that piggybacking on what Ash had mentioned, I think that having tailored customer journeys based on risk definitely personalizes the onboarding for clients, and I think it improves the client experience. Using AI and some of the other tools to get meaningful information around individual clients to enable them to get these tailored tailored solutions based on their trends and their transaction history, I think is really strong. And I think that's going to continue to expand. And AI is going to get better at that, better at judging based on transaction history, as well as blending in some sort of alternative type modeling to use that's not traditional in the industry.
That's really interesting. I mean, so the kind of impact AI would have on the whole commercial bank, the onboarding part of commercial banking seems to be really significant. I know, as we all have been working with that at Brilio, I know that we are starting to see some of those challenges within that space. So fascinating. So let's switch to another topic here, right? I mean, so asset and wealth management space is definitely another thing that we focus on a lot. Maybe back to you, Ash, right? I mean, how do you see this AI-powered IDP, or that intelligent document processing, transforming that financial statement analysis, right? Because within AWM, that statement analysis is a huge thing, right? I mean, so how do you see that? Sometimes people might think of it like not as complex, but as we have seen at Brilio, there is a lot of opportunity here, and there is a lot of requirement for that from the industry.
Yeah, Ajay, let me give you an example to illustrate the power of data and AI when it comes to intelligent document processing. We had a customer came to us and said, to me, the data is very critical. I can lose an opportunity for investment, right, in a great an opportunity if I don't have the data at the right time in a real-time data, right? So we looked at what they are doing right now from a process perspective. They have a team, believe it or not, of a PhDs on data science. What they do is just download the documents from the different portals that they have subscribed to, get the data in downloaded, and then start really distilling the data in Excel sheet and building a dashboard to get the right answers for the data, right? Can you imagine how much of a waste of effort in the data? These data scientists should be really focusing on the trends. They should be focusing on finding opportunities on the data itself, and instead of just really building dashboards and creating data reporting, right? So our solution for that is, and now with Gen AI and with all the announcement for the hyperscalers, right? It's becoming much easier. We even can have right now something to download the reports from the websites that we want to get. We can create a quick data lake right now. With the agentic AI, we can have agents to connect to the different data sources, getting into the data, cleaning it up, distill the data. And then we have dashboards right now powered by Gen AI. I can query anything I want against this data to say, give me, let's say, the possibility, give me the opportunity. What is the profitability margin here? What is the profitability percentage if I get into that deal or that deal and all of the stuff, right? It's not anymore a fixed dashboard. I can use Gen AI now to create a rock solid data analysis on the fly, real time, with the data end to end, starting from getting the data all the way to creating the answers that I'm looking for from the data perspective. So there is really a great opportunity for asset wealth management to shape the entire data analysis that coming from the financial statements and the financial analysis, and make it real time, make it question and answers like a normal question and answers, empowered by the Gen AI.
Right, this is really interesting, right? So again, maybe a follow-up question to you, Ash, right? Do you see this being adopted by pretty much all the, everybody who's actually doing the AWM, or is that something that's happening in pockets right now?
Yeah, so when we talk about the adoption, the common concern for asset wealth management is, I don't want to generate something from a data perspective to be responsible for from a regulations perspective. If we're keeping the use case as to be internally used by the product managers or the asset wealth account managers, right? This is an acceptable by asset wealth management to be having the human in the loop. In that case, the account manager to look at the data, validate it, ensure that what's been generated by Gen AI and the data and AI makes sense, and it doesn't have any responsibility, let's say, on the firm. So considering that and considering what from a regulation perspective, it's safe to have the human looking at the data and reviewing it. We're seeing a lot of the asset wealth management firm are adopting this right now, changing their way of storing the data, storing the documents, getting the data out of the documents, and processing and using the data as well. There is a huge adoption and will be more and more once we have more tools when it comes to agentic AI and be able to be empowering all of this analysis that we're talking about.
Nice, nice. So Gary, sort of staying on this topic, right? So Ash sort of built that relationship between the business requirements and the technology and how it can help. But from your point of view, right, what are the key challenges the AWM firms would face as they start adopting this for document intelligence, right? I mean, to put it that way, from your perspective.
Yeah, I think just resistance from teams that are potentially unfamiliar with AI. I think that, focusing on training and building out user-friendly interfaces in a phased implementation of AI, I think it would be helpful. I think that from what I'm seeing so far, it's just the resistance to change in general, but also because of what AI can actually do. And when people don't understand the power of AI, they tend to resist it because they fear it in some way. But I think that that's the main challenge that I see managing this change. I think it's all around the resistance people will naturally have with AI.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, so this is pervasive across every industry and every client that everybody we talk to, right? So what do you think, companies can do to address some of these challenges?
I think get ahead of it with training, get ahead of it with the message, right? That this is the path that we're going down. We're exploring AI and provide some real life examples of how it can help their process, their job, their day to day, and giving them the tools and giving them the tools, but then in addition, showing them how to use them effectively to make the job easier and put more controls in place around the data that they're responsible for.
Very, very nice. So I think some of the work that we are doing in our teams here at Brilio, right, and things like building some of those accelerators that can actually highlight these features, and like you said, right, pull in some governance features into that workflow, right? I mean, such automated governance and things like that, and so that compliance is not a concern, valid or not, right? Because some of these things are coming. Because the biggest challenge I've seen is that the perception of losing the control of what is happening, right? And if we can sort of bring in that compliance as well as the governance aspect of it in an automated way and sort of make sure that that is completely observable across the board, that sort of addresses some of those challenges. Would that be right?
It'll definitely give more comfort around using it.
Yeah, so let's switch to another topic, and I'll start with you, Gary, this time. I mean, so let's talk about something on the payment modernization side of things, right? So we have been seeing there's a lot of activities happening within the payment modernization. So one space that we see a lot of activity, at least within our spaces, things like fraud detection and the cybersecurity side of things, right? So, how is AI sort of impacting some of those areas?
It is impacted in a major way. I think you hit it, real-time fraud detection, right? Previously, in most industries, right, they had a series of rules, and they would have teams of humans that would go through data to make sure that they stayed in compliance, that they look for certain red flags from particular clients. I think AI is definitely improved that significantly. It enables the real-time threat detection, real-time risk monitoring, in addition to having adaptive security measures that mitigate risk. I think that I mentioned this earlier, using some of the behavioral biometrics and adaptive authentication, right? I think that's giving better visibility into potential fraud situations. It can flag unusual activity, trigger types of multi-factor authentication, for example. And I think that having the biometrics, I think that it can kind of pick up on a lot of the things that a human can't normally see from just looking at data, right? It can look at different types of transactions that clients potentially may have had. It can look at previous fraud detection. It can identify, deep fakes, right? That's another hot topic right now, deep fakes with AI. AI-powered identity verification. It can analyze that data and authenticity of the documents to combat any sort of fraud. Yeah, but I think combining machine learning, automation, and predictive intelligence makes everything faster, safer, and more resilient. I think that's the goal. And I think by combining those tools and that technology, I think it makes for a very low risk control environment for financial industries.
That's fascinating. So Ash, it is sort of build on what Gary was talking about within the space, right? What are the kind of technologies that you would bring in? How do you actually try and address some of these challenges you have in the payment modernization?
Yes, absolutely. And to build on top of what Gary's saying, right? In the past, we used to have the payment, right, being processed in 2, 3 days or maybe 5 days, right? Which it gives the teams the time to look at fraud and analyzing it either by human or by machines, right? Now, with a real-time payment, you have to make the decision in sub-seconds, right? Otherwise, the payment would be very slow, right? So with that, you can't really rely in anything except AI for really quick processing of the data to come quickly and detect a lot of the fraud detections, basically. At the same time, also, you're looking for technology that have a speed of the speed of processing a lot of the transaction very fast. Some of that could be Kafka, for example, right, which is event-driven architecture based, right, which is really Kafka has the ability to handle a lot of the transaction very fast. Kafka is being used in a lot of the posts that you see in LinkedIn and all of the stuff, which is, you can imagine, a massive amount that you need to handle from a post perspective. So that kind of give you the power, the machine learning with some integration power like Kafka and their kind of tools combine it together. It will give you the speed you're looking for analyzing the transaction, detecting if it's a fraud, if there's a money laundering, if there is a sanction test that you sanction list that you need to check against, right, before you process the payment quickly.
That's really interesting. I mean, the kind of advancements that we are seeing from even CSPs and all those in that space is really huge. So thank you for that, Ash. So again, switching topics, right? I mean, one other area that we look into at Brilio, within the space of like how is AI impacting the whole BFSI is something that's been there forever. Things like auto finance, right? I mean, so we are looking at some of the auto finance platforms and all that. So again, staying on the third of CSPs, or what I was just mentioning, like, what do you see? How do you see the CSP sort of enabling that AI-driven transformation in auto finance, right? And again, going beyond the CSPs, even the niche platforms and things like that out there, how do you see the technology providers addressing that custom requirements some of those enterprises might have? Right? Ash, to you.
Yeah, so I'll use it. I love to use examples, right? So I'm going to use a quick examples here. Is one of the cases that we were looking for example, is that when the part of the process, if someone doesn't pay on time, or we have a bankruptcy case, right, or delinquency case, right, there is a database that you can look at it, right, and start analyzing the data and start analyzing the impact. Imagine this is really required a lot of legal, basically, knowledge right now, right, to be able to look at it, make the right decisions. But imagine automating all of this, right? The follow-up and looking at the database, analyzing it, use the Gen AI with the knowledge of legal to determine what is the next best action on that or the next step, and then schedule that, right? Can you imagine automating this whole process that's required right now a lot of people to do? I think this is one of the areas, just to give you an example of how AI and advanced technology can really expedite the process of onboarding, origination, servicing of the loans, and also kind of really from part of the servicing, the delinquency or the bankruptcy or. And I'll let Gary also add to that. But really, I see there is a potential for the advanced technology, including AI, to enhance really the auto finance process end to end.
Awesome. Gary, would you like to jump in?
100% agree. I think that it's going to achieve faster loan processing, better risk management, real-time risk management, personalized, tailored financing solutions. I think that's one that gets left out a lot of times. It's super important. And then all the while maintaining that compliance and the operational flexibility. I think that part of the cloud service providers, offering the scalable AI machine learning, it enables that risk modeling, the customer insights. What we've seen in the industry is there's a lot of legacy systems, right? There's multiple legacy systems, and a lot of times trying to tie those together can be challenging for some clients. I think just by getting ahead of it, analyzing their current systems, the way that AI currently interacts with that, and then building in some sort of AI-driven automation for loan approvals, risk assessments, similar to what Ash was saying, digital collections. It'll definitely reduce the processing time and improve accuracy. I think accurate in this industry, fast is not always good, but accurate is, right? So it's most important to be accurate, and I think that that's something that without AI, before AI was a challenge, and it required a lot of human effort. And I'll close on a couple things here. I think the personalized customer experience, I think, is huge. The tailored offers, that same personalized experience also enables the servicer to get ahead of predicting delinquency potentially based on payment history. It may give them the ability to enhance their digital engagement with their clients, right, which gives them more opportunities for their servicing, but then also for cross-selling opportunities potentially. But I think that overall, having custom enterprise needs and API-driven architecture, right, is needed now to seamlessly integrate with these legacy systems. That seems to be one of the main challenges with a lot of auto lenders is their legacy systems.
I loved when you said that, yeah, fast is not always the primary criteria, right? It's also always the accuracy, especially in this industry, right? And so it's a fascinating. So I would have to say, amazing, insightful discussion here. So as we can all see, AI is sort of reshaping the BFSI sector, right? Whether it's like streamlining onboarding, modernizing payments, mitigating risks, and the potential is enormous, right? I mean, we only started scratching the surface of this. But as we heard today, success depends on how well the organization addresses challenges like the ethical AI use, regulatory compliance, training. I mean, so we delved a little bit into that training part of it, as well as integrating with the legacy systems, right? Because those systems aren't going to go away, right? All those systems are there. Now we need to really make it work with the modern systems. So before we wrap up, I want to do a quick lightning round with both of you, right? I mean, so Gary and Ash, in one sentence, what's the biggest AI opportunity in BFSI that excites you right now? I'll start with you, Gary.
I'm going to say AI. It excites me more than anything. Just knowing from the years of being in the industry and the challenges, the manual effort it took to just accomplish very medial task. I think AI is what excites me the most. Just what I've seen so far, what we've been able to work with, the clients we've been able to use, the Gen AI, and then even some of the Copilot, right? I think that it's really gonna change the industry. Back to the point about having accurate data, one of the riskiest things in any sort of financial industry is not having correct data, right? Because it has a downstream effect that can affect the client, but then also the customer monetarily. I think by getting ahead of building out these AI models that can constantly be trained, right? Can constantly be edited and trained and continuously tested to ensure that it's capturing everything risk related, and at the same time the bias detection, right? I think that's important, especially using AI, not using a human. What kind of controls can we put in place to make sure that there's a fairness algorithm, right? There's diverse training data and clear AI governance policies, I think is really important. But to answer your question, and the longest way, AI is what's most exciting.
Awesome. Ash, bring us home.
Yeah, so AJ, I would just say one of the issues that we had on BFSI for the longest time is the legacy, as you mentioned, right? The legacy kind of dragging us down big time. One of the exciting things right now I see a lot on the BFSI side is on the engineering side. How can we empower the modernization using AI, right? Which is empowering the modernization using AI, like migrating from mainframe, for example, to a new modern architecture that will empower and will get us more further to leverage the data and AI in kind of really in a full-fledged, right? Because if you have the data really parried on a legacy system, how can you use the AI on top of the data, right? So bringing really all of this legacy system, all of this data, really to a modern system where we can right now put on top of that the AI so we can really implement some of the use cases that really leverage the power of the data and AI is really what is the most exciting things that I'm seeing really in the market on the BFSI side.
Fantastic way to put it all together. Thank you, Ash. So that's a wrap, guys. So big thank you to our guests, Gary and Ash, for sharing their expertise. And many thanks to all the listeners who are actually tuning in and listening through many channels here. So if you found today's conversation valuable, definitely reach out to us. We are happy to continue these conversations one-on-one or with your organizations. But until next time, stay curious, stay ahead of the curve. Thank you.